everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are reacting to episode 1077 of One Piece. So Kaido is defeated. We have freed the land of Wano, and effectively the Wano arc as we know it is over. We're kind of going into a post-Wano arc. As I said before, I don't really know if people count this as an actual post-Wano, per se, but it just makes the most sense to me. Especially considering the last two times we've gotten a post-arc has been for major arcs. We have post-Water 7, which happens after Water 7 and Easy's Lobby, basically a two-part arc that is exceptionally important in regards to not only rescuing Robin, but the Straw Hats declaring war on the government and everything. It's also where we get our new ship. And in the post-arc, we also get a new crew member. We find out that Luffy is the son of Dragon and some other big information like Garp is his grandfather. All kinds of massive stuff going on. And on top of that all, we also had the post-Marineford arc after everything that happened in the war, which was massive, obviously. We have kind of all of this stuff with learning about Luffy, Ace, and Sabo's past. We learn about a lot of where they come from and what the land that they're from is like. You get to see more of Dragon. You get to see just a lot of setup for the New World portion of the story, the time skip. And it's fantastic, honestly. And both of these times were after major arcs. And even with some other arcs before, it's kind of unclear if people count it. Like, post-Water 7, post-Marineford are very, like, pretty much officially named that. But then there's, like, this portion after Crocodile's defeat in Alabasta. And it's like, I've heard some people refer to it as post-Alabasta. But then other people just consider it Alabasta. And it's kind of like, call it what you want. And that's kind of how I'm viewing it with this, too. It's like, I don't know what people refer to this as. I personally believe that with how long Wano was and how big and important it was, I feel like it's going to depend on how many episodes are in this post-arc. If there are enough, and if there's enough going on in the post-arc, then I'm considering it a post-arc. I would consider it post-Wano. But if it's, like, very short and not much of anything happens, then it's just part of Wano arc. So we'll kind of have to see how it goes in that regard. But considering it also has its own opening, I'm kind of leaning towards calling it a post-arc. And speaking of, I have watched the opening now many, many, many more times. Whether on my own or seeing other people's reactions. And yeah, I still don't like it. It's like, usually by this point, with as many times as I've seen it, it's like other openings that had to grow on me did. This one is just not. And all my issues that I stated before are still there. The opening half, where it's just the blank, basically, screen showing the still border with that tiny little window of, like, flashbacks happening, is fucking boring. It's fucking boring to watch. And then when it actually breaks out of it and goes into the admittedly really good animation and everything that actually shows, you know, new stuff, it goes by so quick that you don't get a chance to take any of it in or enjoy any of it. You literally have to pause just to catch most of what's happening, because it goes by way too quick. And it's just not entertaining because of that. Again, the song is very good. It's a great song. The visuals in the second half of the opening are phenomenal. Like, they are beautifully drawn and animated. But that's not all an opening is. And I feel like too many people judge an opening purely based on the song or based on if the visuals look good. And they don't think about how, one, the visuals mesh with the song, and two, just how visually stimulating and what's the word? Investing, I guess, would work. It is for the viewer. And again, I've said this before, but the purpose of an opening is to get the viewer invested in what they're about to watch. Its entire point, its entire purpose is to excite you. It's like, oh, I'm going to be watching One Piece, and this opening is just hyping me up. And most of the openings do that. In fact, almost all of them do that. Even the ones that are a little more sad, for lack of a better way, because of the content going on at the time. This opening just doesn't do that. It doesn't give you a chance to get hyped. It doesn't give you a chance to get excited. Because the first half is boring as sin, and then the second half is just, it's too fast. It's literally the entire opposite problem that the first half has. The first half is way too slow and boring and monotonous and hard to sit through. And the second half just goes too fast to the point where it's unenjoyable. There's nothing fun about it. There's nothing entertaining about it. You don't get the chance. And it doesn't balance out because there's, again, that's not how that works in the first place. It doesn't balance out by having the first half be super fucking slow to the point of being a snore fest, and having the second half being so fast that you just can't understand what's happening unless you constantly pause at every scene to see what every shot is. It's just, it's a bad opening. With good music, amazingly drawn and animated visuals, but overall a bad opening. And I'm not gonna say that there was no effort put into this, because there clearly was. Especially, again, in the animation, the art, the music. There was definitely effort, but I don't feel like they tried to make it work as much as other openings. Like, whether other Wano openings or just in general. Like, this opening is very clearly meant to be post-Wano. It's meant to be like, oh, after Kaido's defeat and everything. And it shows nothing for the next arc that's coming. So there might be some coverage for a small filler arc as well. But it's clearly made for the sole purpose of being a post-Wano opening. And it feels like there's just not as much put into it to make it work as an opening because of that. It's like they just like, okay, we'll continue with the amazing animation that we've had for Wano. We'll get a good song, but, you know, we're not gonna put forth the effort into making it all fit together or make it all just work as an opening, because it's the post-Wano stuff. Nobody cares. It's like the excitement of the arc is over. The intensity of the arc is over. We're just in the cool down period. Nobody's going to be worried about getting hyped for the episodes anymore. It's like, you're very wrong about that. We still want to get hyped over the episodes. We still want to get excited, even if it's the cool down period of the arc. It's like, that's a stupid argument. And again, I'm not saying that's what they're actually saying, but it feels like it. That it feels like that's what they're saying with this opening. And I'm sorry, if you enjoy it, if you like it, that's completely fine. As I always say, this is just my opinion. It's all subjective. If you think this opening is great, that's your right. You have every right to that belief, and you are correct in that belief, because an opinion can't be wrong. But I'm also entitled and correct in my opinion. And so, as long as we respect that we have just different opinions in the matter, all shall be good. But because I don't like it, actively don't like it, I more than likely will not be reacting to it or having it in the reactions anymore on this channel. It's just, I can't see myself keeping it in and just like boring myself with a minute and a half, 2 minutes of just sitting there just being upset at everything. Just doesn't seem like it's something I want to have in there, which is wild, because again, I usually don't skip the openings for One Piece, but this is one I can't force myself to sit through each time. So, that being said, I'm probably going to try to leave this conversation here. So, probably won't talk about the opening again past this point. Just going to focus on the episodes from here on out. Again, I don't know all of what's to come. I only know a couple things here and there and out of context. But I'm interested to see how this post part of Wano goes. And if we do get a small filler arc in between, I wonder what it's going to be like. In the meantime, though, let's see where this episode takes us and how we close out this fight and move on. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, this episode was literally just the direct aftermath of everything happening, up until the very end, where it's like setting up like the future, where it's like, oh, let's introduce the new Shogun of Wano and everything, which is obviously going to be more focused on next time. But this was about the direct aftermath, everyone finding out about Kaido's defeat, the physical aftermath of how the land is doing and everything, with the fact that because Big Mom and Kaido were both plunged into the core of the earth, it caused an undersea volcano to erupt. Or maybe not the core of the earth, but at least into the undersea volcano. Which again, both of them fell into magma, at which point they were both like completely unconscious. There's no way they could survive that, right? Like, even if you want to say that they could survive with the color of arms, or just hockey in general, they were unconscious. They had no control of hockey at that point. Like, again, I understand that both of them are excessively strong and excessively tough, but it's fucking magma. That's kind of a different story. And I know this is One Piece. Like, of all shows, of all manga, One Piece is one where Oda could definitely get away with somehow explaining their survival. But every bit of information that we have right now kind of tells us they're fucking dead. There is no way to believe that they're alive right now. Now, that could change, but as of right now, I have to assume that they are dead. And in that case, this would be the first enemy that Luffy has killed. That's insane to think about. Because Luffy doesn't normally kill his enemies. That's not really his thing. He's not necessarily against killing. It's just he thinks that there's better ways to do it, better ways to like demoralize them and take away their dreams and everything. He feels that's kind of worse than death in a way. Oda's talked about this, I believe, in an SBS. But yeah, from everything we can tell right now, Kaido and Big Mom are dead. Because here's the thing, at least with Big Mom, we know that her defenses can and are dropped if her basically state of full consciousness is broken. We know that her skin is abnormally tough, but when she is in a state of, low consciousness, whether it's because of her being put in this immense depression because of having Mother Caramel's picture broken, or being, fully fucking knocked out, that would cause her to lose that toughness. That was kind of a big point made in Whole Cake Island. So, being completely knocked unconscious, she would die in that magma. Her toughness wouldn't be there anymore. She'd have no way to activate her color of arms. That magma would destroy her body. And Kaido is excessively tough too, but we know that Luffy was able to do damage to him. Like, even before Gear 5th. So, the idea that he would survive in Magma 2 is just kind of unbelievable to me. Especially, again, when unconscious like this. Again, Oda is the one person who you could believe could make something work for that. But until he does, and until something is directly said, I have to believe they're both dead. All the evidence points towards it. And obviously, if you are a manga reader, do not spoil shit for me. Do not tell me if I'm right or wrong. I'm anime only. And I wish to remain so. I don't want spoilers from the manga. So, I'll just continue on like this. So yeah, a lot of this episode, though, was just the aftermath of everything. We got to see how they're handling it all. We even see some of the Beast Pirates still try to fight, and it's like, oh my god, dudes, you lost. Give it up. You have no chance anymore. And so Yamato has to come and put them in their place. It's like, listen, you fools. Kaido's gone. Our commander-in-chief is Momonosuke. You want to keep fighting? Go ahead. I'll beat your shit. I will absolutely destroy you. And you know he will. Like, Yamato will truly do that. Honestly, I think just like anybody else, he wants this to be over. Like, he just wants this to be done. And probably the most impactful part of this episode for me was the Toko stuff. And I understand that it's, to a degree, bias, because I've made it very clear that that I very much see Toko as even more likable, even more um, I sympathize and empathize more with her than like with Tama. And again, I've made it clear I love Tama very, very much so. But Toko, it's just like just something about her story and her character, and it's just like I'm just like far more hooked in, and I care for her notably more, and just want her safe and protected and loved and everything. Um, and the stuff with Toko in this, from her finding out why her dad had to die and changing her message, to even the flashback where it showed her when she first ate the fruit and being fucking scared out of her mind, because of course she would be. She's a little kid. Scared out of her mind that she can't stop smiling and laughing. And showing her father for her in order to make her feel safer and happier and more, less scared about her situation. He took a bite too. It's like, yeah, it made me cry. Because again, it's just this, I am so far more invested in her story than most of the things here. And again, it's nothing against the other stories of this arc or everything that set up this arc. It's simply, I just have grown to deeply, deeply care for this young girl, and I just want her to be safe and protected and loved, and I don't want to see her sad because it'll make me extremely depressed. It's just like this kind of like almost protective mama bear instinct kicking in, which I don't usually have for most characters. Like, there's a lot of like child characters in a lot of things I watch, and I don't normally go like full on mama bear towards a lot of them. Like, there's a lot of them that I do care for, obviously, and want to see safe and everything, but like these instincts really kicked in hard for Toko. I genuinely, like, without any kind of stupid hair. Yeah, there's a hair on my lip. Ew. Anyway, but without any kind of like exaggeration or anything, Toko is one of my favorite characters in this series now. Like, that might sound crazy to some of you, but that is how much I genuinely have come to care for her. And that's mostly how I determine who my favorite characters are. How much I just genuinely care for them, how much I connect with them, and or how much I just enjoy seeing them on screen whenever they are, well, on screen. If I see them like on screen, if they come onto the screen in an episode and I get really excited or emotional or whatnot, it's like, yeah, they're one of my favorite characters. I think that's a good sign. And again, it can be based on multiple different kinds of things, or even one of many different things. With Toko, it's purely an emotional, like, mama bear instinct. But like with characters like Robin, it's because of her backstory and her character and just everything that Oda made us connect with her on. With Yamato, yeah, Yamato and Kiku, it's because of them being trans, as well as just their characters, their backstories, the depth they were given, the fact that they're both hot. Let's be honest. I will be completely honest here. That's a factor for me. But if I just really like their characters that much, that just really nails it for me. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons I like Jinbei so much. I just really like him. With him, it's not really about his backstory or anything. It's just like, this dude is just so fucking likable. It's just like, I just want to be friends with him. And honestly, he's not that bad looking. I'm one of those weird people who actually thinks Jinbei's kind of hot. um, but in all seriousness, it's like it's mainly just about with him. I just really love his character. I just think he's that likable. And again, it just depends on the character. But there's a lot of characters in this arc alone that are just near the top of my list or at the top of my list. And I still stand by the fact I have no idea again how many episodes this end of this arc is going to be, or exactly what's going to happen or anything. But I still stand by that Yamato could surpass Robin for me. It hasn't happened yet as of the end of this episode, but it could still. It's still possible. We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see where it goes from here. But we leave off with the people of the Flower Capital about to be introduced to the new Shogun, to Momonosuke, without really being told anything other than Kaido's defeated. That's all they've really heard. They see a bunch of these people. They see Komurasaki, who they thought was dead. They see Denjiro, who they still know as Boss Kyoshiro. And it's like, they weren't told anything. Like, they're not being told right away that that's not Komurasaki, that's Hiyori. That Komurasaki was never a real person. Same with Kyoshiro. They're not being told right away that he's really Denjiro, one of Odin's retainers. It's like they're not being told. They're like just being introduced to Momonosuke, the son of Odin. It's like, I assume they're going to be told the rest of this stuff, but that's got to be really fucking confusing for them. But yeah, this was a really good closing episode for all of this. Hell, in some ways, I was saying like last episode was kind of the closing of the Wano arc, and like this would be like the beginning of a post Wano. But again, I'm kind of gonna wait to determine if I would consider a post Wano, depending on how long this ends up being, depending on how it's handled and everything. But honestly, I would kind of almost consider this part of the ending of Wano still, too. I feel like next episode, with the introduction of Momo as the Shogun, would make more sense to, like, consider it the beginning of the post-Wano. That would, I feel, actually make a little more sense to me, because this was kind of the closing episode of everything that had come before it. And next episode, with the introduction of Momo as the Shogun, sets the precedent for the future. It creates the new era for Wano. Also to note, Momo has told Zunisha that he's not going to open up Wano just yet. And it's not exactly explained why, but my thought is, as I said in the reaction, he wants to make sure it's ready. Because Wano just went through 20 years of famine, of starvation, of, let's be honest, fucking hell under Orochi and Kaido's rule. We need to get the country back on its feet before we can open the borders. I think that's honestly entirely fair. I think it would be kind of unfair to try and open the borders before that was done. It would be unfair on the people of Wano and would kind of put them in a little bit of danger. So I think it makes a lot more sense to prepare Wano and get it ready first, which could take any amount of time, honestly. Because there's a lot that would go into that. But we know Momo will open up the borders. We know it'll happen. It's just he's not doing it yet. And Zunisha's like, I leave this to you. It's like, I'm at your discretion with this. We can open it when we open it. I am excited to see this new era for Wano start. I'm excited to see how this all closes. And yeah, this is gonna be great. Like, let's just be honest here. This is gonna close out well. Even if I don't like the opening, it's like for this post Wano stuff, I nonetheless am definitely going to love this closure. We still have to have a banquet. Like, that was promised. Like, we promised to have that banquet before the raid on Onigashima. And it will be the first banquet with Jinbei as part of the crew. So that's going to be exciting too. Gotta have that. Gotta have, like, say our goodbyes to everyone. Make sure Wano is in good hands, which of course it is. Everything's got to kind of just close out at this point. And so we're going to see how it does. But like I said before, if you are a manga reader, do not spoil me on anything. Do not tell me if any of my thoughts or questions or theories are correct or not. I don't want to know ahead of time. When I'm saying this stuff, I'm mostly saying it just to express my thoughts, just so you guys know where my mind is at as I'm watching. I don't actually expect or want answers. I don't want you guys to let me know if I'm right or not. I want to go into this as blind as possible, and I can't do that if I'm told shit. And unfortunately, I already know certain things that happen because, as I've stated in the past, the One Piece community sucks with spoilers, and no matter how much you try to avoid it, if you're on social media at all, you're gonna be spoiled to some stuff, to some degree. So, yeah. Again, I do know some stuff, but it's entirely out of context. I'm not even going to mention what it is until we get to it, because I don't want to even have a chance of having anyone spoil me on context for it. But I'm still excited. This is going to be a fantastic close to what is, in my opinion, the best arc of the series by far, and I can't wait to see where they go with it. So, in the meantime, thank you all so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on this episode of One Piece down in the comments below. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.